usually do. So the profit was way higher. So all the cases that we opened up, we had to like finish them. So we were just out there.
Shucks.
Yeah, I know. But I only contributed one beer. I just had a half dome.
Dude, those are good.
They're
that
good.
was the first time I had it. It's so good.
I told Gotti, I used to get it all the time where we would go to restaurants or whatever and I would pick it up. And I would get it all the time. I might take these off.
All right, man. I got my Steve Aoki sunglasses. You know who he is?
Yeah, DJ.
I didn't know who he was until he was right in front of me.
Really?
I had no idea.
Yeah.
I got caked.
He's big in, oh, there you go.
Those are my shades.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, dude, my trophy. Yes.
Yeah.
But sorry, going back to after.
No.
You know me, I got to make it about
No,
myself.
I had just told, I just told. I just told Gotti that. I was just like, dang, I had a half dome for the first time in a long, I was like, it's really good. And I was like, that's what happens when you don't really have things for a while. You know, it's just, you tend to get the flavor in more. Or whatever.
100%.
Like we threw Lupe and Gilbert a 25th
Yeah,
anniversary.
Cuban, right?
Yeah.
That was sick, dude.
So
Those
I went
pictures look
to
cool.
I went to Total Wine and got him like a cigar. So we had like a cigar area or whatever. We had like a cigar area because we thought like more people were gonna smoke or whatever, but everybody was just happy to party and get together.
Nice, man.
But I bought a really nice one that I like that I usually smoke. It was the Alec and Bradley Magic Toast.
Oh, nice. I don't think I've ever had it.
That one's good. The prices have gone up because the last time I bought it, it was like an $8 cigar. Now it's a $13 cigar.
Yeah.
And so I got him like a Robusto. Was it Robusto? Maybe a little bit bigger.
You still smoke every once in a while, or you
I haven't in a while. I cut everything out. I had a really big health scare at the beginning of the year that kind of turned me off to everything.
I know you told me that, but I don't think we went into details.
No, I didn't really talk to anybody about it. I almost stroked out.
No.
Yeah, it's high blood pressure that just never treated it. I had gotten diagnosed with it like 8 years ago. Never did anything about it though.
We're not in our fucking 20s anymore, man.
I know. No, tell me about it. I put it on airplane mode.
Oh, you're good, man.
But,
it doesn't bother me, but thanks.
Sometimes it'll beep in the signal.
I should probably do that too.
I mean, unless someone has to contact you, but yeah, I always used to do that. Yeah. No, yeah. So we were, I woke up in the middle of the night and just my heart was just like pounding and I was just like, oh man. So I went to take a shower, tried to cool down. Nothing was happening. I was like freaking out. And I told Katie, I was like, I need to go to the hospital. And she drove me there. And they were just like, you have like super high blood pressure. We need to get it down. I was like, okay. So that was it. And then it happened again the beginning of April.
Yeah.
It was like really bad. And I was like sweating profusely and they took me in and they had to they basically had me in the ER and they like took off all my clothes and were like trying to cool me down and hook the IVs up and everything because I was losing a ton of fluids and it had gotten worse. And I think just
you were losing fluids through sweat?
Yeah, through sweat. And I was sweating a lot. I already sweat a lot, but I was like even more. Like it was like unnatural. And so they were just like trying to figure out what was going on with me. And they found out that I have like a heart valve that's like it's like I don't know if it's not full grown or there's something wrong with it though. And they didn't want to tell me what was up. And that was the first time I ever heard it. So I was like, what the heck? So I started going through my research and doing everything. And the logical thing that I came up with was the fact that I've had it since I was a kid. I was born with it, but no one ever
caught it
or diagnosed me or nothing.
Yeah.
And it didn't. And because there was a bunch of girls on TikTok that had the same thing. They're like, I had this symptoms. I did this and this and this. And I thought it was normal. And you know, but no one said anything. And then until I asked my doctor about it, and they said, oh yeah, that's what I had. So I had hinted, my next checkup, I hinted, I was just like, do you think it could be something to do with this? And when they took like an echocardiogram and they were taking like an ultrasound like around my heart and stuff like that, they're just like, yeah, like it's not there, but I wanted to rule out like diet or exercise, or I was like, is this something that I've done they're like, no, there's no way that would happen to you. So I have something or whatever that'll knock my rhythm off.
Yeah.
So basically my heart will start beating. And then once the blood pressure gets too much or whatever, it's almost like it wants to stroke out. So then my heart can't can't turn itself to like go back. So then it'll stay fast or whatever.
Whoa.
So yeah. So,
stress, nothing has anything to do with it.
it was probably stress around that time. Yeah. Because it
Okay.
was like when my Thea died and then we had my grandma's stuff and I was doing a lot, like running around for the family. I wasn't really taking care of myself. So a lot of that. So after that second time, I was literally there 6 weeks after the first time. And all the nurses were like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, you know, like you need to calm down and stuff. So slowly but surely just cutting stuff out and things that are like kind of obvious. Like in my eyes, I was just like, okay, alcohol, smoking, which I wasn't doing a lot of, but I was like doing more of.
Yeah.
Like, so I'm just like, okay, if I don't need to, I'm fine. You know, eating certain things is just like trying to cut back and cooking
dude,
more.
that's the hardest for me.
Oh yeah, dude.
The food. I'll give up alcohol and cigars any day.
Yeah.
Before food.
Food's tough. And then especially because of what I do, like I'm driving on the freeway at least once a week. So I'm like, I leave the house at 9. I'm in Tulare for a couple hours, come back. I'm in Fresno for a couple hours. Don't come back till like 4.
Yeah.
It's super easy just to drive through and get something in or whatever. So that's tough. But yeah, it's just like, just little habits changing. I got to get the exercise and stuff up more because even though I have that heart issue, I know like if I'm able to increase my cardio capacity, it'll help my heart out a lot more too, to be able to like, you know, just handle certain things. So yeah, slowly but surely. But yeah, this was the year that was just like, it opened your eyes to, you know, now you got to start taking care of yourself. I mean, I'm not invincible anymore.
Isn't that messed up though? Like you hit like a huge check mark in a certain part of your life that you've been fighting for from what I remember, like, you know?
Yeah.
And then this thing just like, hey,
yeah,
you have a good, let me knock you down.
Yeah, that's it. That's exactly how it felt. It was just like, oh man, it's like just finally reaching some kind of a high as far as accomplishments or just what I've been wanting to do. And then, yeah.
So people should, I think you told me, that's why I don't pray for humility or something. You don't like praying for humility?
I don't like praying for humility because I know it works. So it's just like, oh, I'll let it come when it comes because it'll come, you know, so it is. But yeah, like, I don't know. It makes you not take stuff for granted anymore. Like when stuff, and it sucks that something like that happens. I think it usually happens like death in the family or some traumatic experience.
It's usually something big.
You know,
divorce.
yeah. Where it's just like, okay, maybe you get too comfortable in wherever we're at and you just day in, day out, you're doing your thing and work, whatever. And then finally something happens that makes you be like, okay, like you really got to be conscious of all this. And
yeah.
I remember leaving the hospital. They were just like, they put me on so many pills and stuff. And I was just like, okay, like I've always said I wanted to do stuff more naturally or whatever. So I'll take this for the time being because I needed blood work done. And I was like, okay, I'm not. From when they scheduled blood work out, I was just like, if I don't take the pills, there's going to be no change. Like, because there's no way other stuff can work fast enough. So like, okay, I'll do that, supplementing other things, you know? So now I'm on a pretty good mix of like lower dosage of my blood pressure meds. Some of the other medication I already ran out of. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm not going to go get a refund or refill, not a refund, a refill on it because I'm just like, they were using that more as a precaution. Like if you don't change your daily life, these pills will keep you going type of thing, you know? And
like the lazy man's way out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was just like, okay, but I am making a change. So like, I don't think, and you know, obviously
like
talk to your doctor before.
Little by little.
Yeah, I'll talk to your doctor before you do it. But it's just like, there were certain things where I was just like, I could wean off it and I kept what I needed, but then supplementing like more natural teas and stuff that are for blood pressure and just like, cause that's my main thing right now. It's just the blood pressure, just keeping it down, keeping it at a manageable rate. So, yeah, just learning about that.
Well, I'm glad you're all right, man. Was it pretty close to?
It could have been. Yeah. I mean, like they're just saying they're like if you didn't come in, like basically what they did was they flipped my heartbeat because my heart didn't want to stop. It just kept going.
How did they do that? Did they like shock it? Or?
No, they hit me with like a needle or something like.
In the chest?
Not in the chest, but it was like another IV, and that really like immediately
like
just calmed me down.
Oh, okay.
It was like opposite of adrenaline, basically. It was like a downer. Like,
nice.
So I was just going, and then they got me with fluids, and then they're like, "All right, we're gonna hit you with this. It's gonna feel kind of weird, but whatever." And then I just remember like just going from anxiety feeling to like just
chill.
Yeah, it's like it's literally that like falling back into like a pillow like feeling where it's just. I don't know. I've never had a waterbed, but I feel like that weightlessness or whatever is similar. So.
Do you think stuff like, obviously, I know we're not pro for it, just for recreational, but like something like smoking weed would help you out?
Maybe. I don't know if the
You wouldn't want that
I wouldn't
outlet though, right?
no. One just because I don't like the
feeling?
flavor. I
Oh.
don't like the taste of it. But if it was like a CBD gummy or something like that, or not a CBD, but like something like in a gummy form,
Yeah.
I wouldn't be opposed to it.
No, you don't want to do edibles, man.
Yeah. I was thinking, I was like, it's different. I don't know. I barely got into like enjoying smoking cigars, so I kind of want to keep that my like.
Yeah.
If I'm gonna smoke anything, that's what I'm gonna smoke. You know,
Yeah.
because I enjoy it and I like the flavors, and I've been getting used to pulling these flavors out and matching it with different things. And I still have like
That's
a huge,
the fun part. Huh?
yeah, I have a huge bourbon collection that I haven't tapped into in a while, just out of precaution. But like,
Mine keeps dropping for some reason.
keep having to refill or replenish. But like, yeah, like I got really into collecting that last year, like different bottles and kind of chasing certain things. And we're kind of lucky that we don't live on the East Coast where all this stuff is made. Cause I feel like I watch YouTube and they're always like, this bottle's sold out, or this is, like I can't get this. And then I go to Total Wine and I'm like,
it's right here.
it's all over here. And it's on sale. I'm just gonna, so that's why I know how to try out. But yeah, little by little introducing certain things. Like at the anniversary party that we threw, like I had like a shot. I didn't have any drinks or whatever, but I had a shot because everybody took one. I was just like, okay. And Gotti's really been trying to get me like, dude, just a little bit
Cut
or whatever.
loose, yeah.
Yeah, because we have so much like, I mean, she took bartending classes and she knows how to mix certain things.
Nice.
So we have like wines and stuff at home and different like liquor.
Yeah.
And so she's the one that's out of nowhere. It'll be a Wednesday night and she's like trying to mix a drink together,
Sick,
and she's
man.
like, try it. And I was just like, okay. And at first I was like, no, I can't, like really stickler to it.
Yeah.
And now I'm like going more in because
little by little.
yeah, because I realized I was like, okay, well, I am like putting in the work to like take care of myself.
Yeah.
Why am I doing that? So that I'm able to enjoy
These
stuff.
kind of things. Yeah.
Yeah.
So from what I'm getting out of this, let's hit you up Wednesday nights. Be like, what y'all doing?
I know, right? I don't know. She's like, well, usually Wednesdays are Survivor nights now. So I don't know if that's the reason why she started getting into it.
Is that a show or?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
the show.
Yeah.
That's still going on.
Yeah.
I still remember when that naked fat guy was the winner.
That was the first.
That was the first
very
one.
first
That's
season.
the only one I watched.
I think it's on
was
47 right now, 47
Wow.
or 48. But yeah, we grew up with that. Well, on my side of the family. So
Yeah.
like before the season premiere, I was texting like my brother and my sister. And I was just like, hey, like don't forget it's tonight. Blah, blah.
Survivor.
And my brother was like, oh, we should do like a watch party. I was like, that'd be cool. But we didn't have enough time to plan it. So maybe for the finale, we'll do something. But,
That'd be cool.
but that's our kind of thing. It's cool doing that kind of stuff. But
How's Luna adapting to Coda?
man,
Or how's Coda adapting to Luna better?
it is such a struggle because like, so she's a puppy. I think now she's like 14 weeks, 15
What
weeks.
is she, a lab?
She's black lab, like pure.
Mia has exactly one of those.
Yeah.
Named Luna.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's cool, man. Like she's good, but I mean, we've only ever had Coda for like so long. So we got used to Coda or whatever. We never got him snipped or anything because we're like, he's the only dog here, whatever. But as soon as we got her, we're like, okay, shoot. Well, it's either we have to fix her or fix him. And the less intrusive one is to fix him. As odd as that is, but like,
Poor guy. He's like, I did nothing wrong.
No, did nothing wrong. Well, that was the hard thing because when we got her, she was still little to where she was a little smaller than him, right?
Yeah.
So when they would play, like, they'd wrestle and it was fine. But she started growing really fast, like really fast. And we're like, okay, well, we know like once she's 6 months, technically that's her puberty stage. So I was like, if we're gonna do something, we got to do it way before that way, because we don't want a litter,
yeah.
we don't want puppies. So literally we got her the very next week. I had to get him snipped. So it was a combination of like keeping them apart, and having like watching him all the time. And like, I'm glad I have like a semi work from home job. I don't have an office to go into, but I do go out like to get stuff. So I was able to be home and like watch them. But it was just exhausting because she's a puppy and she wants to play. She doesn't understand.
Yeah.
And him, he's like, especially the couple days after the surgery, he was like super down, like he didn't really want to do
He felt
anything.
betrayed, man. Like,
Yeah.
I would feel betrayed.
And I was just like, man, all right. So I had to make sure, keep her away and keep him fed and make sure because she's very like territorial and stuff like that. So like
she is,
which is weird. Like she started going all over, like laying on his bed or whatever and his toys and stuff. And we're like, okay, then we got to go ahead and, figure this out. So I feel like finally this week, literally yesterday, like was the first semi-normal day where I let them like play together and Because she bites, dude. Like my hand's all like I'm all
Oh, and they got them
tore up.
sharp teeth. Huh?
Yeah, this is a
That's
sharp
puppy?
teeth, and I'm just like, gosh, dang it. And but learning how to adjust, like getting her certain things. I've never looked up more stuff for a dog than I did right now because Coda was completely opposite. Coda, as soon as we got him, he liked to play, but he would chill a lot.
Yeah.
Like he would go on his own space. He, obviously if people were over, he wanted to be around. He got excited, but like when we're at home, he didn't really. He didn't have anything like. Like we'd be watching TV and he'd just be laying down. He'd take a nap.
Yeah.
With her, like she wants to be in your space, like on you, like touching you all the time. As soon as she sees Coda, even if he's just on the couch, like she'll try to go get him. And she bites hard. And I'm like, gosh, dang it. So it's been exhausting like these last couple of weeks since he had his surgery. But I think he's finally coming out of that stage where we can let them play and nothing's going to happen, But she brings a whole different dynamic to the home. Yeah. Where I feel like with Coda, we kind of got used to like, okay, well, as long as we feed him or leave him out in the back, like and leave food, he'll be fine. We can leave for the day. With her,
you have to schedule your whole day around her.
Pretty much, yeah. Which is hard right now because I wasn't expecting it because it was literally like a surprise thing. It was like
somebody gave it to you guys.
Yeah, so her coworker had like a litter on accident. He has 2 black labs, and they had a litter, and he had like 8 puppies, and he was trying to give them away. Or sell them or whatever. And God, he really wanted a second dog.
Yeah.
And so we were trying to figure out. Well, I wasn't even trying to figure out. I was just like, oh, she's like, do you want a dog? And I was honest. I was like, no. Like, I'm like in my head, I'm like, we're coming up into Q4. It's like the busiest time of the year for me. I'm same thing, right? You get into your routine and you're like, I like
finally got it down.
Yeah, I was like, I like how this feels. Like I got a schedule going on. I was like, I'm not really, if I'm gonna be honest. And I'm thinking puppy, I'm like training again and potty training. I was like, no, like I really don't. And but I guess she was at work, she was insisting, and it's her coworker. And he ended up like giving her to us like for free. He didn't even charge us or anything. And he got her first shots and everything.
You should have put her on Amazon too, man.
Yeah, I know, right? A couple $1,000 for that puppy. Shoot. But no, she's really sweet. Like she's sweet. She's a puppy and she's excited. She wants to play, But her teeth, if she had not so sharp teeth, I think I wouldn't have an issue with it. But it's just the fact that she like has sharp teeth. It's like whatever.
She checks you up.
Yeah, but I know like in the future she'll be good. Like Gotti's always wanted Coda to be more like an adventure dog. Like take him up to the mountains or take him to the lake or whatever. And he's so like not timid. Like he's very much a house dog. Like he likes being clean. He likes taking naps or whatever. She's like.
Let's go.
Yeah, we ended up getting a little kiddie pool, which
I saw that on her Instagram.
Yeah,
Luna's
yeah. Which we had bought last year for Coda, but Coda hates water. Like he hates taking a bath, he hates water. But her parents would jump in the pool like all the time. They had a pool like where they were at.
Yeah,
and they told us is like, oh, you put the sprinklers on or whatever. Like she'll run through the water.
In her DNA.
So my in-laws weren't using that little kiddie pool. So we're like, can we have it back? And we didn't even start pulling. She heard the hose turn on, like starting to fill it, and she jumped in and she's like rolling around. So she loves water, and she like, which is cool to see because it's just like, okay, she's a more active
she's fun.
dog. Yeah. So now that she's getting a little bit bigger, we're trying to teach her like how to walk on the leash and certain commands and stuff because I mean she's gonna get bigger. She's already getting big and heavy. She's already bigger than Coda, like, which is crazy. Dude, we're watching a video today. It's just like when we brought her home compared to now, it's like, dude, it's barely been a month. Like, when did this happen? She's grown. So,
sound like a funny buddy cop.
Yeah. And then Coda's white and she's black. So it's like, just when they're sitting next to each other.
We don't see colors. We see dogs.
Oh, no, I see colors. But, but it's just like, but it's funny to see them together because they're just like, oh, like, when we're thinking about getting another dog for Coda, we're just like, oh, maybe another terrier because we kind of already know how they are.
Yeah.
And the brother that Coda came with or whatever that he was found with was like brown with white spots, which is like opposite of what he is.
Yeah.
So we're like, oh, okay, maybe we'll do that. And that's how they'll match. And then come to figure out we're getting a black lab. So it's like small white, furry, hairy dog with a really short haired, big black dog lab, so it's
funny, dude.
It's
the contrast.
Yeah. I like how they're getting to know each other. So it's just like they're getting more comfortable with each other, which is good. It's just it's learning new things in the house and stuff like that. And I think it's going to help out in general too, because we've been wanting to get more active and she like loves being outside. And as long as you're with her, she hates being outside by herself. I tried sending her out.
She won't shut up, huh?
She'll be on the door, and I'm
Yeah.
just like, but yeah, I'll just be sitting out there, and she'll go do
Dude,
her
I can't
thing.
do
Like,
pets, man.
yeah.
I am such a neglectful person.
yeah, I was like that before. I loved my own time, my own space.
Yeah.
That's the hardest thing because like I still do like traveling and going out and stuff,
Yeah.
and now it's always like who's gonna go
Dude.
feed the dog and who, like I do hate that part about it, and then how attached we get to them. But it's just like that's one thing I guess in marriage that I just had to figure out because Scotty had always grown up with pets. We never grew up with pets. We never had pets growing up, so I was used to that. Just you get up and go whenever you want to. It's not a big deal. But now it's like okay, you got to think about it. There's another being around, and I don't like to call them like our kids or anything like that. Like they're pets, but it's just they're our responsibility, so it's like taking care of that stuff. But yeah, it's crazy.
That is crazy, man.
Yeah, life's changed.
Yeah, man. Oh, I was gonna tell you, man. Gregorian chant. How is that, dude? Like, because, well, first of all, I know you went in and you're like, like this needs to change completely. You and your brother.
Yeah.
And then like you guys found a great team, and I'm just like, in awe every time you guys are singing.
Yeah, that's been a huge. I'm gonna say it's been a huge blessing in my life in general, but also like spiritual life too. I always go back to like all those Father Chad Ripper YouTube videos where he's like, yeah, the demons hate Latin.
Chant,
They hate Gregorian chant, but they hate Latin too.
Yeah.
It's like that's why all the exorcism prayers are in Latin. So it's like some of that stuff is cool. Like that's all really deep, but at the surface level, it's just like I miss being in a band, so like having that experience in high school and early college of playing with other people and being in a group. I really missed out on that. And even from not being in, a youth group or a young adult group or anything, we're just playing on a weekly basis. So that kind of gets my itch out of being able to be in a group and do it. And I think at the very beginning, it was very innocent in the sense of we just wanted to help out.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of guys that wanted to help out because there was like, okay, we're going to start up the Latin Mass. Obviously we need a schola. We need, some kind of a choir that's going to do it. And the group at the time was a bunch of guys that were very
willing to help.
Yeah. So it was very easy to get, I think at the beginning it was like 10, 11. There's a lot of us. And so we did that. And I kind of took the role of trying to steer it into a direction of, okay, like if you guys are here, like, let's make this thing good. Like, let's make like, why are we going to waste our time? If we're going to practice, let's go and do it. So we tried that for a couple months. We had people like fall in and out. And then honestly, what it was we were at a mass one time and I had seen Danny on the other side of the church.
Yeah. And
I had lost touch with that guy. Me and him did recollection together when we were 14. So I hadn't really talked to him in like 15 years.
Yeah.
Like, and it's just life, I know he moved and, and a lot of stuff happened, but
dude, he has that R&B voice, man.
Yeah. Well, even that's what I'm saying. Like, so even in youth group. And then when we're in high school, I mean, he was like in a group, like secular group, recording with like rap artists and stuff. But he always had like that, who's that guy? That Frankie J, like, just kind of how he would carry himself and how smooth he could sing. But I remember singing, it was at a Latin Mass singing, and I was just kind of like, I just wanted more, like I felt like it was very, very elementary and very beginner friendly. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I know this could be more, but I just maybe don't have the guys like that are there,
Yeah.
And I remember being in Mass and seeing him all the way across the church and something just lit up, and I was just like, I should ask Danny if he wants to sing, and it was kind of an introduction to like wanting him to sing, but also just wanting to see how he was doing, like, because I hadn't talked to him and we were friends. We were really good friends when we were younger. And by that time my brother had joined, and my brother's very opinionated,
particular,
and he's very not afraid to tell you how he feels or what he thinks about certain things. And he was getting to the point too where he was just like
frustrated.
He was just like, we can be really good, but no one wants to try to get better, Yeah. But that comes from that whole, like, we've been musicians our whole life. We've sang together our whole life. We sang with my dad. Like, so like with certain things like that, like we don't even have to try and it's good.
It's natural
like,
now. Yeah.
Like, and not to say it like as a,
well, what is it? The 10,000 hours? You guys have definitely put that in.
Yeah, I mean, I've been playing since I was 4. My brother's been with us since he was like 13. So it's just like, like we put in the time every Sunday, like, you know, youth group every week. Like, how many hours is that? Like, we probably hit 10,000 hours in like 2 years, honestly, like, to be quite honest. And so there's that thing of like, you've practiced so many times. Me and him, you could put us in a room, we won't even practice and we can go do it.
Yeah. I've seen it happen and it's glorious.
Yeah. And it's just like, all it is time with that. You know what I mean? So I was really glad that he had agreed to hop on, and he was about to leave, you know? And I was like, look, if I'm able to put something together to where maybe we can get to what we're thinking, we didn't know yet. We were just like, I just want to sing with some guys that are like crazy good, you know? If I could put something together, will he stay? And he was like, okay, well, we'll see, you know? So I saw Danny and I was like, cool. And I hit him up and I was just like, hey, crazy idea. Hope you're doing good, by the way. But like, would you want to join? Would you want to sing with us or whatever? You know, like I thought about you, and you know, if not, it's totally cool, but would love to get together just to catch up and stuff. Yeah. And immediately text me back. He was just like, yeah, like let's, you know, I've been wanting to do something. I've been all this other stuff. And then literally the next week at Mass, we weren't singing or anything like that. I was just at Mass and I saw Alex, and Alex was at Mass. And Alex is someone who, I mean, he's in a band. He's a front. He's a front.
He's got range too,
right? And he's always been that, and he's always been very creative. And like, yeah, I remember in youth group, he'd always be the one like, oh, can we do this harmony, or I'm going to play it like this, or he would take what's straight and like just try to add all the stuff to it. So immediately I was like, this is a sign. Like it has to be a sign, you know? Saw Alex at Mass, and I'd always seen him at Mass, but it was always just like, hey, what's up? You know, it's like you see people from youth group and stuff, and you're like, hey, you say the highs, goodbyes, whatever, you pass by. But I was like, I know you could sing too. So I just kind of threw it out there. And he was a little harder to convince because he was like, you know, I've heard how it is right now. And, you know, like, I don't know if I want to put myself. And I was just like, I understand. And I was like, I get it. I was like, but I'm thinking about putting a new group of guys together. And and I told him who it was because he knew everybody. So I was like, this is who I'm thinking. And I was like, think about it. We have a month, you know, because we do it once a month. I was like, we have a couple of weeks or whatever. Let me know. And he sat on it for a good like 4 or 5 days before he let me know. He's like, okay, well, let's practice to see how it goes. And that first practice, I kid you not, it was just the 4 of us. And it was just crazy. It was like everyone just kind of fell into their place.
That's awesome.
Like everyone knew, and and
he gets the low notes, right? Alex?
Alex, between him and my brother, yeah. Alex can hit really low notes, but his voice fits a little bit higher. So the way how we think of it is I pretty much do all the melody stuff, which is in the middle, because I can't go super low and I can't go super high. So I stick to the middle. Danny always goes above because Danny has the range, and he sounds good singing high, so he doesn't sound like he's straining. My brother will take whatever's low, and if he can't figure it out, we switch, like for the most part. But his low voice is way better than mine. And then Alex goes in between my brother and myself. So the way that we stack it, is Alex, Luis, myself, and then Danny.
Dude, I remember the first time I heard you guys, I came up to you guys and I said something extremely inappropriate about how it made me feel.
Yeah.
And till this day, every time I see you guys, I'm just like, oh,
yeah.
My gosh, dude. Like I sit there, it makes me concentrate a lot more on what's happening.
Yeah.
And especially during when we're receiving Christ and when Father Larry, I love his Latin masses because he goes from beginning to end
and Latin,
all Latin. I'm just like, we got
That's
it.
what I was. The only thing in English is the readings, the homilies, and the petitions. That's it. Everything else is Latin, which I love that. I love that now. At first we were kind of intimidated, but he came in before his first one, and he was just like, I'm going to do this, and this. And we're like, all right, you know, and but we've gotten used to it. It's I think it's where it needs to be. He kind of raised the bar now of
good
what it needs to be, you know. But yeah, no, I think how you felt that first time is how we felt that first practice.
Yeah,
because since all 4 of us are musicians, I think we all have the mindset of, okay, if we're gonna fix each other, if we're gonna tell each other something, it's not personal. It's to make this
better.
It's to make the song better. It's to make it more solemn, because our whole thing is like, we don't want to be a distraction to what's going on in the mass. Like we're literally there just to support the mass.
And I think you guys are in that sweet spot where it's like you guys aren't the star, the stars of the mass.
Yeah.
Although like I would say you guys are all rock stars. Yeah. But at the same time, it enhances the mass so much where I'm much more focused, much more in it, much more. I don't know what you guys are saying, but
sometimes we don't even know what we're saying.
I know it's good stuff.
Yeah.
No, but it all flows a lot better, and it makes me appreciate the mass a lot more because with this music and then seeing the reverence that Father Larry is having up there. I don't know, man. It's just, I don't know how to explain it. Everybody go to the Latin mass.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a big thing for us is because we take it seriously. Yeah. Like, and I think people that hear it and are moved, that's one thing that they don't know how to explain. But when they say like, oh, it sounded really good, it's like, okay, great. But I was like, but everything was really good, So it's just like how the prayers go into the chants, go into the songs, like we try to flow it very appropriately. And even in the way that we sing certain songs, like obviously like if you listen to it, like our entrance songs and our exit songs are kind of more voluminously loud, but also in the pronunciations, they're a lot more harsh. Okay. Whereas our offertory and communion songs are a lot softer. And it's like even volume wise, we're all a little bit lower, but our pronunciation for certain things, there's a lot more dynamics. There's a lot more of us getting loud and then going softer and then bringing it back up on certain parts and going like, whoa. So next time you go, like, listen out for that stuff, because that's also what helps us. Like, because a lot of the times we're singing the same songs every month or whatever. We try to switch it up. And I'm really glad Father Stephen's here now because he has a lot more Latin, like a lot bigger glossary index of songs that we could pull from. So I already told him like, throw some stuff. Like, so we're not singing the same thing. So he's like, oh yeah. So that'll be coming. But we try to do that just because like we've been to masses, like I think most of us have been to like a World Youth Day mass. Mm-hmm. So we remember like just being moved by not only the presence of what the mass is, but like the humongous choirs that are there and how the music affects what you're doing. And that's what we all want to give back. And we're like, I remember talking with him and I was just like, look, I picked you guys because I know we could do it, but also I feel like, and this isn't a diss, but like, I feel like there's nobody in the choirs that's like thinking about liturgy the way that we're thinking about it, as far as like trying to make it beautiful and not just like, I'm going to play this song here because it tells me to, or I'm going to play, it's like, okay, like
singing it with purpose, right?
Yeah. There's a purpose behind it. Like there's, and we've been to masses where there's just a cantor where it's just like, we sing the same things or whatever, but it's not, it's flat, you know what I mean? Or it's like, or even,
or where they want to be the stars of the mass.
Where it's distracting. Yeah. You know what I mean? Where you're just like you don't need to do that. Like, or people that try to do harmonies and stuff, but they can't hear themselves. So it doesn't fit. So then you don't remember what the heck's happening, but you remember that didn't sound right.
That was off. Yeah.
So that's why like we practice a lot to make sure that our blend is good. Who's listening where, like there's a lot of musician stuff that happens like between us. And I'm really glad that everybody's really on board for it. Cause at first it was like, I felt like, not that they were like that, but I almost thought, I'm going to have to beg these guys to come back next month or do it. And after that first mass, everyone's like, when are we practicing again?
Dude,
like we just wanted
awesome.
And now it's such a friendship and stuff to where we get together. Like we're our own kind of clan, and we're able to pull like Aldair and Denzel with us now. And they help out with a lot of the melodic stuff, which is like where I sing.
Yeah.
Cause I was like, well, if we can get that stronger, like I don't want the harmony. And I'm always thinking like how everybody else can hear it. So it's like, I don't want the harmonies to kind of distract from what the main melody is. If people are trying to sing along to what we're doing, cause some of the songs are pretty well known. So, and we could hear people sing along. So we're like, if we stack them on the melody with what I'm doing, kind of helps the congregation be like, okay, this is where I'm supposed to sing, So they've been a big help too. So, but it's cool. Cause we just like hanging out and just like that helps. So if we need to do a practice or something, it's like we want to get together, and we have a good time. Like we have a lot of fun, but we practice hard too, So
no, you can definitely tell. And it's every third Sunday?
Every fourth Sunday.
Every fourth Sunday
of the month is Latin.
At 11:30, right?
At 11:30. And then we
Sweet,
transitioned to doing English. So now we're doing the second Sunday, we do English. So like this coming Sunday, we're singing in English. Yeah. So we're trying to take that same kind of intentionality in the Latin Mass and switch it to English songs. So like a lot of the songs that we're singing aren't like, I don't know. I always say they're old 11:30 choir type sounding songs. You know what I mean? Like, so if I'm trying to listen for stuff, I'm going for more traditional melodies and traditional music and stuff like that compared to like newer songs. So like you'll never hear us sing like a Matt Maher song, like at 11:30 Mass. Like you'll never hear us sing like anything that's on like Christian radio, really. Yeah. Because we want to bring that tradition,
that reverence
back and the reverence back, you know? And a lot of that wasn't like, when you think about it, music, I don't know if you ever had to take like music appreciation, like 101 or something like that in college.
I
or
failed
like
it twice.
Did you?
Yeah.
I really
did not appreciate what they were showing me.
I geeked out because I took it at Fresno City and it was actually me. Do you remember Gus?
I do.
Me, Gus, and my brother. The three of us took it together. And that was fun. And the teacher was, I forgot his name, Fresno City, but he's a guitar teacher. So for the music department, he teaches like guitar performance. So the way he talked about stuff, I was just like, oh, okay, I could get on with this. But we started to realize that a lot of the older composers, like I know Mozart's probably the most famous one, but or what's the other one? Handel, I believe. But their works were for mass.
Really?
Like they're really famous classical pieces that we hear, like for the, like even the like Hallelujah.
Is that one of them like, for weddings? The canon
in D. Yeah,
was that Mozart or Beethoven? It was
Beethoven.
Hey guys.
Canon in D.
Canon in D.
Who composed Canon in D? Handel's Messiah. That's the one that everyone sings for Easter, you know. But they were written for masses, for Catholic masses, you know.
Yeah.
So like, who?
Pachelbel's.
Oh, pocket bells, pocket bells, Canon in D.
Crazy, man.
But it's just Pockbill's Canon in D.
Yeah.
So,
So it's like all this classical music that we hear, we know the melodies to for these classical stuff. They were meant to be sung at mass. That was their purpose and stuff like that. So we're trying to bring those melodies back. So like really popular classical music melodies
that people will recognize.
That people recognize the melodies, but they're actually words written for songs, you know. So we're trying to bring that kind of stuff back.
Awesome, dude.
To like I said, bring the tradition, bring the reverence back, and it just because like we just want to be different, you know. Like we're just like we're not hearing it at any other masses, and we're able to use it. So but it does take that effort, like to learn, you know, all this stuff. And some of those melodies are very easy; they're all over the place.
Yeah.
But we're like we want to be good, not just for good sake, but it feels good. It's like when you're on a winning team.
Yeah, that's something you mentioned. Like it helped you with your spirituality. How did it help you?
Because it had me looking forward to going back to mass again.
Oh yeah,
I was always in the like, okay, we go every Sunday and we try to, okay, when are we going to do this? But it was always, I'd gotten to the point where it was almost like a secondary thing, you know, because
going
it's like
through emotions.
Yeah, because like we'd have a quinceañera or a wedding the night before, so obviously like feel exhausted and you sleep in and you wake up and then there's a football game on and you're like, I guess we're going in the afternoon, you know. But it was never like scheduled. Like my Sunday revolved around when I'm going to mass, or like this is my whole thing. So now being part of the choir, like, okay, well, we know like these Sundays I have to be there.
Yeah.
But not only there, now I'm looking forward to it. And even like this past Sunday, I didn't sing or whatever, but we went to a different mass, and just hearing what they sang and how they sang and stuff, like I started pulling ideas, and I was just like, I like this, I don't like this, you know, like this was distracting, but this was really good, you know. So, and getting different ideas and stuff. So now it's like realizing how big a part like the music is. And I've been playing at mass since I was like 4, you know, so it's not anything new, but I think now being in charge, it really puts it at the forefront of like, okay, you need to put thought into it. And I respect and I am really grateful, and I look up to a lot that my dad has been doing this whole time. Cause my dad's been leading mass for like
OG 40
years now. Like it's crazy to say that, but yeah, he started leading a choir when he was like 22 5.
That's crazy, man.
You know, so like under 4 years. He's not at 65, but he's like 61. But nonstop. You know what I mean? Like we'd have times where, you know, maybe 2 weeks we'd have summer vacation and we'd go somewhere and we wouldn't play, but every Sunday he's there, you know? There, yeah. So, and he'd always kind of put that into my brother and I think that's why we think that way of like make sure when you're playing the mass, like, or you're still participating in the mass. And I think a lot of people
not
get
just
out of that.
focusing on the next song or the next thing. Yeah. And
I've seen that in other people and I fell into that too.
Yeah, me too. I've always been crappy at music and singing, you know, but like in holiness, when we would pray the rosary with songs in between, I would completely forget about the mysteries about the Hail Marys. And I'm all like, oh, what song are we going to do next?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And it's so easy to fall into that. I'll call him out because he knows, but Alex this past a month ago, had one of those moments where, we were getting ready for, I mean, Alex has been going to mass his whole life, you know, his family's very religious, you know? And he just had a moment, like brain fart moment, because in English, we all sing, but he plays piano. So that's one thing that we add on the English one. So eventually we're going to get him on the organ for the Latin masses, but we need to replace his voice kind of because his voice is pretty integral in a lot of the stuff we do. So we're not doing it yet until we could get someone that could sing his parts basically. But for the English music, we've kind of transitioned him to be more the piano because I think it sounds better than guitar. As like a playback or whatever, as a support, right? So
it's more 4, right?
Yeah. 10 notes is better than 4, you know, or 6. But he had a moment where we're literally getting ready and it's like autopilot where it's like, okay, we're going to do the holy, holy, holy. Yeah. And he's looking at me with big old eyes and he's like, what did he say? He's like, we proclaim your death. And I was like, no. And then he just lost it. Like, and he didn't know where he was at. And he just gave one note and he had the Gloria music up instead of the holy, holy, holy music up. And so we just started singing off his one note a cappella because we just picked it up. And he tried to jump back in and realize, oh, it's in a different key than where we're at. And he just told from then until almost the amen, he couldn't figure it out. And afterwards, he's like, dude, I just got like really nervous. And his dad told him, because my Nino was there. His dad's my Nino. He's my baptism godfather. Had to talk with him. And I had to talk with him after because my dad talked to me.
You've had this talk before? Yeah.
I've had this happen to me before when I was younger, where he was just like, you got to realize that when you're playing in a choir or singing or anything like that, like you also have to pray the mass. Like it's just you now took up that responsibility of you're leading the people in these certain areas, but everything in between, you have to pray the mass.
Exclude you,
And he just had one of those moments. And I know like we joke about it now, but it's just, I'm kind of happy that he went through that early already. So that he knows like, I'm never going to do that again. But it's a good reminder for all of us. It's just like we're there just to support, like we're part of, it's almost like the altar servers, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, they're there and they know their cues when to go up and when to set up, but it's like, they also have to be a part of you have to pray the mass while you're in it.
Yeah.
And I think especially being in choir, you can be so distracted by
what do I have to do next?
What do I have to do next? And I've seen it where, you know, I go and try to like, if I'm not playing, right. If I'm going to a mass and before it's like, there's no prayerful environment.
Yeah.
It's just straight up planning and you see people running around and going back and getting out of the pew and talking and going, and then the people in the pew are talking to each other and all of a sudden next thing you know, we start and I'm like, how are you preparing yourself to be that support for the mass when you're not even doing it for yourself? Like, no, that's when you know that something has to switch. Like it's not a show. It's not a performance or anything like that. That's why I hate it. Like when people clap, cause I'm like, we're not doing this it's not for you. Like,
yeah, man. But you also got to understand that what you guys are bringing is something that is much needed. And I think everybody hungers for something like that. I mean, and I appreciate your modesty and everything about saying like, it's not for you guys to, you know, you guys are doing it to praise, but when something's done so beautifully, like I think for what happened to me and in my heart and the way that I see the mass, when I heard you guys for the first time, it completely changed the mass for me. Because I've been to St. Anthony's and they have a really good choir too in their Latin mass. But it was just like, whoa, like I can't believe I get to have this, well, not necessarily a feeling, but it's just like this whole different experience in my own church.
Yeah.
And it was so beautiful, dude. And I think what it was is a lot of people's excitement of like, whoa, like, did we just turn to level 11? By the way, sorry, completely sidetracked. I've thought about this for like a decade because I just said level 11.
Yeah.
You showed me a video once in high school while we're with the band guys. And it was this dude that had a guitar and amps and saying like, oh yeah, this controls the level of the sun or something like that. Can you find, do you know what video I'm talking about?
Yeah, this is Spinal Tap.
This is Spinal Tap.
So it's a mockumentary from the 70s or 80s or whatever. It's about, they're mocking all like the heavy metal like bands.
Awesome. Okay, I know it's a complete sidetrack, but that has always been in my mind. I've always wanted to rewatch it, but I don't know how to look that up. So after this,
this is Spinal Tap. Yeah, it's a very popular scene. It's where he's getting, the main guitar player, he's getting interviewed. And he's showing all the gear, and it's making fun of them because he has like 200 guitars and all these amps, and he's like, "This is the loudest of all my amps," because this one goes up to 11. And the guy's like, "Well, why don't you just make 10 your 11, and now all of them go to 10, and it's the same volume." And he doesn't get it because he's also an idiot. Like, but yeah, no, I remember that. Yeah, I'll send it to you again.
Dude, a lot of cool high school moments. But going back to the Latin mass, I think that's what it is. And
and I think when I say like it's not for you, it is because we're leading the people in praise to God. Like, you know what I mean? So it's like we're at the forefront. Come on, everybody. Like in that sense, yes, it is, right? Because it's like you need that base, because we've all been to masses where it's like really bad singer, really bad music, and you're like, I know I need to participate, but I literally they can't even carry a tune. Yeah. Like how am I supposed to sing along with, you know what I mean?
It makes you like sing louder sarcastically, like it's in this note.
Yes. Yeah. and then it defeats the purpose because now you're not reverent at all.
Whatever.
You know? Yeah. So like in that sense, yes. So like we want to be really good so that people have an easier thing to grasp onto so they can also sing and praise the Lord, right? Yeah. Because that's the whole reason why we're there. I think on the other side of that, it's like we're not doing it for applause. Like we don't like, you know, like, and I get that's what we're used to. It's like, oh, you hear something good and you want to applause. It's like, okay, I understand. I think for us more, it's like how can we give the best of ourselves in what talents we have? And I think I could speak for the four of us, for myself, Luis, Danny, and Alex, is like we're all blessed with the gift of music, whether it's singing or instruments or all that, some of us both. And it feels very good spiritually to be able to give your talents back to God in a literal sense. You know what I mean? Like
what's the best way, but in the mass, you know? That's the ultimate way.
The mass is the ultimate form of prayer for us. You know, that's everything. That's the you know, the Eucharist, how John Paul II, or was it Benedict XVI?
I don't remember.
The Eucharist is the source and summit of our faith, you know, like that's everything, you know? So like, and where does that take place? Well, in the mass, you know? So, for us, it makes us feel good that we're able to do something so well together, and it's also for God. So like, that's our thank you. That's our pat on the back. That's our good job is the fact we know how hard we work to do that. Like, yes, all of us are very, and I'll say all of us are very talented.
You guys are.
And it's almost like it's literally the Avengers, like
dude,
of singing.
The first time I saw you guys, I'm like, no way, Alex and Danny are here. Like, what? Because I remember you guys from youth group at GSA. And I just remember like watching Alex growing up with the songs. I just remember the TOB ones, but yes, Lord. But who am I? And then Danny with and then while you and Luis, I've had the opportunity to play poorly next to you guys when we were in Spanish youth groups. But so when I saw you guys, I'm all like, no way, this is gonna be so cool. Yeah. And I think after every mass, I go like, man, that was awesome. Yeah.
And I know where it comes from.
Yeah, and I know
that's why I don't say anything.
I know you guys don't need the encouragement. I know you guys know what you guys are about. Yeah. But at the same time, I say that to you guys as an appreciation. Yeah. Because it makes me I mean, obviously, it should come from my own will to focus on the mass, but it enhances the mass so much for me. And I even feel weird saying that because the mass is just the mass, you know?
Yeah.
Where I'm more focused and where I'm more locked in. Where Mia, she's 11 and she's just trying to read in Latin, and I'm just like, you're way off. But
yeah, dude. Sometimes I'm off. I'm trying to read through some of this stuff, and I'm just like, man.
But she's way more engaged.
Yeah, and it's a total. I'm not trying to puff up my feathers or like in the most humble way that I can. I say that because I grew up singing alongside these guys, and I've always wanted to be in a group with them. I've never got the chance to, other than youth group. That was it, you know. And when I lost that, I didn't know how good I had it.
Yeah,
you know, and we never practiced. It was just like, hey, just show up every week and we're gonna do this one. Okay, just off the whim or a retreat. Like, what do you want me to do? I don't know. Just do whatever you want. We never practiced. We never like tried to be tight, you know? So it was like when I go back to like me inviting everyone, I've had that on my mind for so many years of seeing a lot of people that have really big talents. I would always just think musically because I'm part of different choirs and stuff like that. But I'm like, how come these guys are so easy to join a band, but they don't want to sing at church? How like the best thing you could do is like give your talents back to God. And a lot of people do that like through their art, like, and they do stuff, you know, like even like our bulletins now like have all this like extra stuff. And it's like, great. Like someone designs
like a
that
little kid section.
And I'm like, great. So they're able to give their talents back. Like we have like writers helping out at the Harvest Festival. We see so many people that have an eye for like decoration and they're like, I'll give my time and I'll go and we see the fruits of that. And you're just like, awesome, you know, like to be able to give back it. But I would always think I'm like, I see these guys at Mass like every Sunday and they're so easy to want to do something else, but not for their faith, you know? And it would always bug me in a weird way. But again, respectfully, I'm just like, but everybody's at their own level and at their own stage. Yeah. And it's cool because if you ever talk to Alex or Danny, they actually thanked me like later on. They're like, dude, I was at a really weird space. And like, just your invitation was that thing that brought me back in. And that's that whole like Holy Spirit coming in. And when they say like, oh, when the Holy Spirit's like, ruffling something up in you, like go act on it because there's something there. And I kid you not, it was like that. It was like, I saw Danny, asked him that same day, saw Alex, asked him that same day. And if I wouldn't have done that, we wouldn't be where we are now. And we're coming up on like almost a year and a half of being on it, you know? So it's like, it's really cool. I'm really happy. Selfishly, I'm really happy I'm in a group with those guys. Like, but it makes it fun. And I think since all of us have the same goal of let's make this the absolute best we can for the Mass, for the purpose of what the Mass is for, and to lead people into prayerful states or into being able to praise God. Like that's why we're there. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of influences like with people that are already doing this. On Instagram, the Liar Project is really good. I think it's like a family. It's a choir, same thing. They're like us. They sing in English.
Liar,
Liar, Lyr.
Okay, I'm all like, do they just lie to people?
No, I could hear that now. I didn't think about it. But I think a lyre is an instrument. But they're really good, and they're like half family, half friends. Same kind of how we are. And their harmonies are crazy. There's like 8 of them. And I found them on Instagram. But the big one that pushed us through to really get serious was Floriani Sacred Music. Those guys, their whole mission is to bring back the beauty of chant back into the church. And their stuff is like crazy. We bought some of their like their CD that also has their sheet music and stuff because they're the first guys where we're like, oh, you can do 4-part harmony chant. And we were always just used to Latin being like, everybody sings the same thing, you know, like song two, and everybody sings the same thing. And when they do it, they're 4 guys with 4-part harmonies and they have Instagram reels. Well, they'll show their music. And so like the Alleluia we ripped it straight from them. So like no shame, like, but it's like little things like that where we get inspired by people that are doing it way better than us. And that's why we know like we're never satisfied with where we're at because there's always someone better. And those guys are like the pinnacle of, they just sang at the that Eucharistic Congress that they had in Indianapolis.
Oh, really?
Like during their adoration, they were the singers and they chanted the whole time. And everybody was just like, everybody online was like, dude, these guys are crazy. I was like, yeah, I've been listening to it for a couple months. Like, or I knew them before they blew up, like type of thing, like when with your favorite bands.
I knew Taylor Swift before she
was famous. But like, yeah, so there's a lot of guys out there doing, I'm not saying that we're the first ones.
Nah.
I am glad to say that we're bringing it back to our parish.
Dude, yeah. Dude, because I'm even like, okay, like song 2. So I'm like, I try to harmonize with you guys, but only for my sake. But at the same time, it's just like, it makes me more focused in what I'm saying. And dude, I'm just, it's so crazy. Who's the one that wanted to bring Latin? Alex did, huh?
Alex Hernandez. Yeah. Well, Father John Warburton, who was our former pastor, the beginning of last year was like, oh, I'm going to start doing Latin because we didn't have it for a while. And obviously
we had it with Father Gustavo, right?
When Father Gustavo was here. Yeah. And then after he had left, that's when the COVID happened. So then it was this whole like, okay, well, limited masses, limited space. So that completely went out the window.
Yeah.
And then bringing it back, the choir that was in charge of it previously, they were all older, and the main choir director, she fell into like some illnesses and stuff like that, so she was out. So that whole choir kind of disbanded. Nobody was singing at 11:30 anymore. So Father John had asked Alex, I guess at a parish council meeting or something like that, like, hey, I'm thinking of doing this. Do you think you can figure it out? And at the time we had a men's group going on. I think they still meet, but it's different.
It's more of a married men's group.
Yeah.
or guys with kids men's group. Yeah. I go every once in a while.
Yeah, I haven't been in a while.
Do they hit you up about it?
No, but every time I see Sergio, he's like, dude, I haven't seen you.
Okay, because I'm in a group chat with them. Next time they hit me up, I'll let you know.
Yeah, it's Monday still, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
6:30, but it's at Eric and Sergio share like property. So like it's like a middle, they made a whole thing. So cool. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. But that thing was getting going. It was pretty active, like with some guys. So Alex brought that to the group, which is like, let's do it. And that was the starting of like everyone just being really eager and on fire about their faith and be like, okay, this is how we're going to give back, So that's why I said at the beginning, it was like, I love everybody's enthusiasm. And what they were doing. And we had a decent couple of months. Like I think it was 4 months with all those guys, and then changed direction a little bit after that. But I'm glad.
Some of the guys told me afterwards that they were kind of relieved because they were like, oh man, like I don't know, it's a lot of pressure. I don't want to mess this up. Or some of them just like, I want to sit with my wife and kids, Yeah.
I think that's the thing that I'm really grateful to Kari, for my wife, for understanding that my biggest call, and I've told her this since we were married, I was like, I feel so weird being at mass and not playing.
Yeah.
Because that's my way of giving back. That's how I feel like I'm
called to serve.
Yeah. Giving my talents back. So anytime that we go and we're just sitting there, I always feel like there's a part of me missing.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that she's understanding, and she voiced her things. So she's like, oh, but I want to like sit with you. And I was like, okay. So I do allow for like every other week we go together and work together,
Oh yeah. Well, now it's two times a month.
Now it's two times a month. So like, every other week, like we'll be together and
perfect example of marriage compromise.
Yeah. And it's like, and I get it. And I do enjoy it, it's great. But I'm glad that also like my brother's wife, Yvette, they have 2 little kids, right? So it's a little more difficult for them because then sometimes she's on her own, and Gotti's really stepped it up a lot of being like, okay, well, when you guys are singing, I'll go help with the kids, and then we're a family anyway. So it's like, community raising the kids, So
God knows what he's doing, man.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome to see.
How many years have you been married? I was at your wedding too. It's all blur. 8 years? No.
7.
7?
7.
Both of these guys are going to get married soon. Him in a couple of weeks. 2 weeks?
2 weeks.
Him in March? That was one of the M's.
Yeah.
Do you have any advice for these guys?
No. Everybody's marriage is different. Everyone's relationship is different.
Probably the best answer I've ever heard.
When we got engaged, I felt like we had a lot of people really excited for us because they saw it coming.
Yeah.
And our story is pretty unique. Yeah. Not you.
I was going through a divorce that time. I was being a punk.
Yeah. Which is whatever. It's the devil's advocate. We always had the other side.
Yeah.
At least I did. And we had a lot of people trying to reach out and trying to give their advices and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I don't remember any of them except for one, which is never complain to your own family about issues that you're having with your wife. And in the same way, never let her they told both of us. They're like, never complain to like your what's that called? Like,
other? Your husband?
No. I mean, always
complain to each other.
Yeah. But like, you never want to bad talk your spouse to your parents or your family.
And your family to your, I don't know.
Yeah. Like, but your own blood relatives.
Okay. So keep what's between you guys,
yes,
kind of thing.
Because, and even if like, if your mom's like your go-to person or your dad's like you got to learn how to,
or your godfather.
Yeah. You gotta cut that as soon as you get married, not the relationship, but who you go to.
Yeah. Because
they're always going to have your back regardless. And the very first time that ever happens, they will never see your spouse the same ever again.
Yeah, that's very true.
So like, if I ever did that, my mom and my dad would, it could be a stupid thing, but they would always have something against Gotti.
In the back of their head.
In the back of their head. And they're always thinking like, is my mijo okay? Is he, is she treating him fine? Yeah. And anytime I would show up to the house and maybe I'd be distraught, they'd automatically blame it on her.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So you never want to give your family like that opportunity to do that, because it's like, no, like,
I don't think it's so much an opportunity, but put them in that situation too.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, because it's not fair to your spouse. You know what I mean?
Because obviously they're going to be team JC. You know?
Yeah. They're always going to have your back regardless. That's the one thing that both of us agreed was the only advice, I guess, that we took very seriously into marriage. Everything else you're going to figure out. And I am honest. Like, we see other people's marriages and relationships, and it's completely different from how we structure and do ours, but it works for them. So it's just like, do that. I mean, obviously the obvious things, like, you keep God in the center of everything. It makes things so much, I'm not going to say easier, but it makes things so much better. Like,
is it difficult to maintain that?
Yes. The thing, and you guys everybody here comes from a theology of the body background. And we always say this, like, when you're talking about relationships and stuff like that, like, the devil is really on attack against the family. I've never felt it until I got married. The moment I got married, stuff was starting to happen. That has never happened to me as a man. Thoughts have never gone through my head. Like, crazy. Like, and I knew it was the enemy trying to break it up. And it makes so much sense. Like, I didn't have that issue when I was single.
Yeah.
And as soon as you get married, marriage is the foundation of everything. It's the foundation of the church. It's the foundation of society. It's the foundation of everything. So if he's able to go in and mess that up, great.
He knocks a lot of dominoes down.
Yeah. And
sorry.
Yeah. And it's one of those things that, like, you hear, in talks, or, or even if you give a talk or something. But I'm telling you, you don't realize how real it is and how powerful the other side is until you're in that situation. And we've had so many friends that we grew up with and stuff like that, all going through separations right now, or I guess separations, because they're not like divorced, but they're like separated.
Going through it, yeah.
And it's a common thread of, like, they don't have their faith at the forefront of their relationship, and it's so easy for me to see it.
Yeah.
But it's hard to say it sometimes.
Like, hey man, like, I'm noticing. Yeah, 100%.
Because it's like I care about them a lot, so I'm gonna say something. But you also have to realize that not everyone's in the same spot, like,
or ready to hear it. Yeah,
it's like, and even if you were 10 years ago, you're a completely different person. I'm a completely different person than I was when I first got married. That's the other thing. It's just like, it's like the person you marry on that day is the person that they are at that time. 2 years later, 3 years later, 4 years, a completely different person. So you have to choose to stay in love with them and to stay married to them
with all their changes.
And
same with them to you.
Yeah.
But 100%, man. I mean, obviously I'm divorced, and that was definitely the biggest thing. And for me, and Okay, he's in. I'm just kidding. But for me, it turned into like, why do all these things? Why doesn't she do anything for me? Or like, and I had like this victim mentality, this ego mentality. It's like, well, like I do this, I deserve this kind of thing, you know. And 100% away from the church when we got married. I don't even know why they accepted it. Oh, wait, they didn't. That's why we went to a different church and they accepted it because they didn't know us.
Yeah. It's funny that a profile picture from your wedding came up on my, like, was it like the throwbacks?
Oh, that's right. You were the only groomsman that was actually my friend. Yeah, man.
Yeah, it's a picture of me and Kari at your reception. And we look like babies. Like, it's crazy.
You had a faux hawk at my wedding.
I had a faux hawk and a goatee at your wedding.
Nice. I think I had a faux hawk too. Dude, that was
yeah, but mine was like
yours was like legit, dude. Yeah,
crazy.
It's crazy. Marriage is it's cool, dude.
Yeah, there's a really good book by, and I always recommend it, by Fulton J. Sheen. Read it before you get married. It's called 3 to Marry. And I think every talk that I've ever given, like I always try to say it. It's so good. And the whole book is broken down into a simple image, which is a triangle, which is God at the top, you on one side and your spouse at the other side. And a lot of people, what they do is they try to get closer by going this way.
Yeah.
And really they're pulling each other apart because they're not doing it correctly. But the closer you get to God, the closer you get to each other. And
that's beautiful.
That's when it works. And you could think of it like, oh, it's like a cheesy thing, but I kid you not, the most fulfilling and high times, best times that we talk about is like when we were both really on it, you know, individually, not just together in our marriage or whatever, like chasing our
when
family,
your relationship with God is
in
good.
Your own relationship with God, because then it does bring you closer, because it's like the closer I get to God, the more I want to bring her too. And it's just like, hey, let's do this together. Let's go over here. Hey,
and when both of you are striving, it's just a constant pull towards God. That's awesome, man.
Yeah. So.
You read it?
Me and Christina are like reading it right now.
Yeah,
so dude, it's dense.
Awesome.
It is dense. Yeah. Like so a lot of the times we have to like I'll read a paragraph or like I'll read a page and she's like, hold on, explain this to me like I'm 5. And I'm like, okay, cool. So this is like because I'm really into philosophy and she's not. So a lot of the times we have to counteract, but it's a beautiful book.
First of all, that's so cool that your girl tells you explain to this when I'm 5, because when I do that without them saying explain to this when I'm 5, they get offended.
Yeah. No, that one's super good. There's just a lot of stuff that, like I say, I was like, you hear things. You hear, how do I say this? Like almost like common sayings, and you're like, oh, that's kind of folksy sounding, or that's kind of whatever. But then once you start living it, you're like, oh, I should really pay attention to this. You're like, you know, like, or when the whole like love is a decision thing, and I was like, yeah, love's a decision. It's not a feeling. Like they don't always you don't always wake up feeling in love or all this other. But
I was grabbing tea with Sister Jessica, and we ran into someone that I've admired their marriage for years, and we're like, hey, how's it going? We're going to go grab tea. You want to go? She's like, no, I got all my kids. And then I'm like, all right, cool. She's like, well, pray for me because, you know, today I have to pray to love my husband. Mm-hmm. And I'm all like, whoa, that's crazy. Like I've admired these people for years, but at the same time, it's an everyday thing. It's like how you said, a decision to love.
Yeah. I think like the one thing that people would always say is like, what is love? And they point to a crucifix, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, that's love. And that's another thing that I did not understand until I got married, where it's just like, it's literally a decision to put the goodwill of another person before my own.
Yeah.
You know, of like, I'm willing to put everything down on the line so that they may not be happy. That's not it, but like for the good of their salvation, you know, and something that means you got to put your foot down and be like, hey, no, we're not going to do this, or hey, we're not going to see this, or we're not, you know, we shouldn't be hanging out with these people because it's not good for us, you know, like that's also love too. It's the protection part, you know, and you're going to run into those situations and you have to take a step away from certain people for a certain amount of time because it's what's good for you. And then you come bounce back and you're a different person, a better person in a better place, you know, and now you're ready for it, you know, and you can do it. I've had to do that with a lot of people in a lot of situations. And it's anytime I go back, it's just like, okay, I'm so glad that like I took some time.
100%.
I needed it. You know what I mean? Because sometimes you could just lose yourself, but yeah, like really just sacrificing for each other, you know, and the hardest thing is not putting on that face of like, like, I did all this for you and you don't appreciate it. And
Diego
like, tell me you
face.
appreciate it.
Yeah.
You know, like that's the hardest part of like, because you don't always get a thank you. You don't always get a hug at the end of the day, and you got to be okay with that. And then you wake up the next morning, you're like, I'm gonna go do this again. Like,
regardless of her reaction, because it's your duty.
Mm-hmm. And I don't want to make it seem like, oh, like it's all a drag. No, there's awesome, like really good times too, you know? And that's wonderful. But that's the reality of it. It's just like, it's both. And it's just like life. Like everybody's like obviously you go into it like 100%, like, oh, I'm going to spend the rest of my life with this person. Yeah. God willing, you will. That's the plan, you know? But if you got to decide it every single day that you're going to do it, like, and those vows get real, man, through thick and thin, sickness and health, and good times, bad times, whether we're broke or whether we got it. Like, we got to choose to stick it out. And the cool thing, even when we were dating, Gotti and I would always say, like, we would never call each other partners in crime, but we'd always say it's us against the world.
Nice.
We'd always say that. We would just look at each other as like, well, it's us against everybody else. And when we got married, it was literally that. We just like people.
You can only rely on yourself.
We can only rely on each other. Yeah. And I told her, I was like, I don't have anyone. I was like, I don't have anyone. I feel lonely right now. I need to talk this out. I only have you. And I trust that you're not going to tell anybody what I'm about to tell you, but this is what I'm going through. And she's the same way. Like the one thing that I'm always like really proud of is the fact that like I'm a freaking closed box.
Yeah.
Like, and I feel like
I have to pry sometimes just for you to.
Yeah.
I'm like,
and it's to my detriment sometimes because I can admit that I'm not a very good friend in the sense that like I'm not one that reaches out.
Yeah.
But then I will be like, oh, I feel lonely or whatever, you know? So it's like my own detriment.
Yeah.
But at the same time, when someone needs to unload or someone needs to tell me something, I can honestly say, I've never told anyone's secrets. Like people have told me stuff and I don't even tell Gotti stuff, like other people's business. One, because it's just a trust thing. Like I would never, if I say like, hey, keep this to yourself or whatever, I'd hope that they would do the same thing. Yeah. But also I've put myself in a lifestyle and the way that I am to where like, I don't have anyone to talk to.
Yeah.
And sometimes that life gets lonely, but like, I feel real bliss in it sometimes too, of like, I'm glad I'm not in an office with 15 other people that are just blabbering around. And cause I've lived that and it's just like, I need just quiet time right now.
Yeah.
So like, so some of it is just like, I just don't talk about other stuff, but then also it's like, I don't have anyone to tell. Like, and I tell Scott, he's like, don't say anything. And I'm like, who am I going to tell?
Who am I talking to?
You look at my phone. Like my phone's the driest thing like ever. You know what I mean? Like no one texts me really. No, I don't.
Oh, first of all, shut up. I text you. I know you don't respond. I call you. You're like, I'll call you right back. I'm like, doesn't call me in 5 weeks.
No, like, but in the sense of like my phone doesn't have like 100 missed messages. Like going off all the time. Like no, like I see my phone kind of as an emergency. Like this is where I'm at. This is where I'm going. I'm out of gas or whatever. Can pick me. That's what I use my phone for. I'm not really like. All about it. But I can admit that it took a long time for me to admit that. It's like, I'm not a very good friend. And it's an area that I need to work on a lot more, but also I need to figure out what that means in my vocation now.
Interesting.
Because I need to be a good spouse. I need to be a great, that's my priority. And that's what I was going to get to. Because choosing now being in that vocation, that's my priority. Yeah. So my priority to my wife now takes precedence over my priority to my friends, and even my priority to my family. Right? Because there's a lot of, if you're choosing your scripture readings, choose them good.
Genesis?
No.
Man separates from his
Corinthians. No. Genesis. Yeah. For that reason, a man shall leave his shall leave his home,
to his wife. Yeah.
Cling to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. That's real. And I think a lot of issues that people have like interfamily wise is because they don't live that out.
Dude, when I got married, I was like, you guys are dead of me. But unfortunately for my spouse, she had really, really strong, her family was anything, not talking bad, but it's just like that definitely became an issue with us. Her family was always in the know or butting into our business.
And sometimes that's cultural and that's, I'm sure growing up in a really big family, everyone's always in each other's business all the time. And, you get used to that. But as you get married and you mature, like there's some things where you do have to draw boundaries of. I'm not saying leave your family. That's not what I'm saying. They are a big part of your vocation in your life.
Yeah, I kind of went extreme on mine.
Yeah. But you know, you do have to do stuff. One thing that I always liked is no one else has used the second reading that we use in our wedding, except for maybe now if they hear it, but no one ever uses it because everyone uses the Genesis Adam one. Everyone uses the Corinthians love, the definition of love. Love is patient, love is kind.
I think I know which one. Can I guess?
And the third one everyone uses is
the submit to your husband.
Yes.
Yeah. Is that the one you use?
No.
Oh, okay.
We use Romans, Paul's letter to the Romans, which
I have a Bible right there if you want.
Which is, I don't remember the number, but y'all.
That's all right. You're Catholic. You don't have to read the Bible.
But it's for this reason. I urge you, brothers, to offer your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and gracious to the Lord. Basically, it was because we were so involved with like ministry.
Yeah.
And we always gave so much to ministry. We were gone from our, we were gone from our houses like a lot of the time, 4 or 5 days out of the week. We're at church all the time, you know? So, and we would always see people get married and then all of a sudden either leave the church or just be not seen in the church. And so for us, it was really important that even in our marriage, whatever we did, in some capacity, we would stay tied to our parish and stuff like that. Now it's come to fruit 6 years later of like the choir thing of where, okay, this is where I feel at home and this is where I feel at peace. But we tried like youth group, middle school ministry, you know, confirmation teachers, you know, and everyone has their place. And as soon as you find yours, like cling to it, you know. We tried everything and we couldn't feel like it worked with our vocation or how we were living our vocation until the choir thing came up. And now we're just like, okay, this is home and this is where we feel it. So all of us were always just like, that reading. Oh, do you guys have which one it is?
That's gonna be Romans 12 verses 1 through 2.
Yeah.
I appeal you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, to present your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable to God, which is your spiritual worship. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind, that you may prove what is the will of God, what is good and acceptable and perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that's an option when you're going through marriage prep to go through. And we read that and we're just like, yeah, like everything that we do is a sacrifice. Like what more than offer your bodies as a living sacrifice? It's just like our tiredness, our, you know, frustration, our this, and it's a good reminder for us. But yeah, like everyone uses the other 3 readings every time. Yeah. And I don't even think it means anything. It's just like, I think it's at this point, it's tradition for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And they're just like, okay, this is what you did. But we took it really seriously. And when we had our meeting with Father John, like our interview or whatever, he's like, which ones did you choose? And then he went through, he's like, you guys are going to do this one. And I was just like, yeah. And he even told us, he's like, do you know the significance of like this reading? And we're like, yeah. And we told him what we thought it meant. And he was just like, you guys pretty much got it spot on, you know, like, he's like, I'm really happy that you guys are thinking this way. And we're like, yeah, well, like we're serious about getting married and not just being married, the vocation. That's the only other thing, not advice, but don't get so caught up on the wedding day that you forget about the marriage.
Dude, yeah. Something that I noticed, I know I was going through my own things and making everything about myself and telling you not to get married because I was going through a divorce. But your seriousness after leaving seminary of like, I'm not joking around no more. Yeah. Like, this is it. This is where God wants me and she's going to be my wife and we're going to make it work. Mm-hmm. There was like something switched in you, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That discernment period is something that I hope everyone's able to go through. It's just discernment in general. It's like, it doesn't have to be discernment for the priesthood, just discernment in whatever vocation you have, but learn how to actually discern and have a spiritual director that's like walking you through it.
Yeah.
And that was just, it was like, I don't know, it was just time to man up, like for myself, you know. It's like, it's going around choosing all these different things, putting myself out there and just doing, well, I like playing retreats, so I'm gonna go play a retreat whenever because I don't have any responsibilities. And, you know, like I'm free to do all this other stuff that I want. And going in seminary was really eye-opening. It exposed a lot of things that about myself to myself. How I think, habits that I have, how I think of myself and how it doesn't matter. Like, you know, or I'm not as highly as I think I am.
Yeah,
and
the world doesn't revolve around JC. What?
Yeah. Like that being in seminary with other seminarians will humble you very quickly.
Yeah.
And I needed that for that age, but you know, through a lot of discernment and, you know, talks with a lot of priests, when I discerned out, that's what it's called. When I discerned out, I knew that like, okay, I made the decision to come up here and I made a lot of sacrifices to come up here. So now I know where I feel God is calling me to. Now I just go and I'm just going to make it known. And honestly, I didn't know it was her.
Really?
Yes. Because she had cut all ties with me when I left. And so we weren't talking at all. And when I came back, my whole thing was like, the reason why I discerned out was I felt like God was calling me to be in the parish to do stuff. Like he needed me in the parish. And that was retreats, talks, stuff like that, choir. So I knew I had to do that. And I remember I talked to Luisito about that. I was just like, because we were both got in the same time. We went through really a lot of stuff together. And he's just like, I understand. He's like, we'll go, So as soon as I came back, confirmation, I signed up, confirmation teacher, back in choir, they wanted to start up a middle school group. I was just Ignited. Like, yeah, that. And then Adoremos was starting up, which was the diocese, right? So diocese holy hour.
I'm glad you had all this because when I got divorced, I needed something. You're like, go to this, go to this, go to this.
Yeah,
go to this. And like,
it was all there. I remember I just wanted to be in everything. I was like, I need to just like be in it because okay, if I left to be in parish life, I'm going to be in parish life. I'm going to make it where I'm not going to punk out, and be like, I didn't like it. And so that's not why I left.
Do you feel like you were also using it as a distraction or you feel like, no, this is my calling. I need to help out in the parish as much as I can?
Maybe it was a little bit of both, but like, honestly, like I left because I felt like I needed to be in the parish life. Like God needed me there,
Yeah, I know that feeling.
Yeah, it's just like, you just know like where you're supposed to be, and, so like Gotti wasn't even, I didn't hit her up. It was none of that. It was literally like how I think I hit up Lucy more than I did anyone else because I was like, okay, I'm back. Like I need to do, like, I want to do stuff. Put me wherever you need me, and she did,
Yeah, Lucy's good at volunteering people.
Volunteering people.
So when she gets someone that's like open to everything, you're set. Yeah. Man.
So it was very easy to get into stuff, and I was going to holy hour, and like I was basically keeping up my seminary days, like my prayer life at seminary as close as I could when I was back home, because I had my own breviary and everything like that, liturgy of the hours, and adoration at least once a week. Like I kept it up.
Beautiful.
So then. The opportunity came up because there's an adoration group already in Sacramento when I was in seminary.
Yeah,
was already going on up there, and they had really good music. That was the first time where I felt like moved by music. Kind of probably like something you experience.
I should start saying moved instead of what I say.
Yeah, but it was during because we would go help out at this. It was a young adult group in Sacramento, and they had these singers which were all girls. And they were just harmonizing and they were doing all this stuff. And I was like, wow, this is really beautiful, And and the girl the woman, because she's older than me, the woman who was running that moved to work in Fresno the same time that I moved back home after I discerned out. And the word had got out that she needed a bunch of young adults to help out because she's starting up this adoration group in Fresno. And she wanted young adults and stuff like that. So I had heard about that, and Gotti actually reached out to me. I didn't know she was part of
Adoremos, right?
It was Adoremos. Yeah, I didn't know she was part of that crew or anything like that. But they needed musicians, and she's like, "I know you're back, and I know you're trying to get involved. Like, do you think you might want to come play? Because we're doing the first one, and we don't have anyone to play." And I was just like, yeah. And
she played it smooth.
Yeah. And I was just like, and I that conversation was just straight up like business transaction. It's like, yeah, no problem. She's like, oh, okay, well, they want to hear like can you record something? Because she doesn't know that you guys can sing. And, all right. So then I called my brother because my brother's always my go-to.
Yeah.
And I was just like, hey, we're going to play, not even asking if he wants to do it. I was like, we're going to play adoration at the diocese. They're going to do it. And we're going to sing this and we're going to record it. I need to send it. He's like, yeah, cool. And we just on the spot, first take.
You know what I love about your brother? And it's not a dig at your brother, but he's very good at like, dude, let's go. Like in that moment. But I'm like, yeah, we're going to do this every month. He's like, I don't know about that.
which is why I'm really happy that he keeps coming back month after month to sing in the choir. But But yeah, we sent in the thing and Kari texted me again. She's like, yeah, you guys are on this for this date or whatever.
Yeah.
Cool. So I go, we had to meet prior to that day for something at the diocese. Like I think I had to sign a form, or they probably needed my background check or something like that. So not her, but Andrea had called me and I was like, hey, do you mind coming into the diocese? Like you need to sign like these forms. We just need to have you on the record. I was like, yeah, no problem. And I don't know how no, we didn't go. I don't know if we went together or something like that. Gotti ended up having to be there too. So we got to this is how it goes in my head.
She was probably like, my car broke down. And
no, I literally think that was, no, we had a ride. No, we had or it was my car or something like that. But I was just like, hey, are you going to, I texted her. I was like, are you going to the diocese this day to sign something? She's like, yeah. And I was like, I think it was my car that wasn't working. And it was literally just like, hey, do you mind like giving me a ride? Because I don't have a way to get over there, you know? And this is completely still innocent, still.
Yeah, I know.
I had no intention, you know, of anything. But it had been about 1.5 years since we had broken up, you know? So that car ride, there was very awkward because I didn't know what to say. And I didn't want her to feel like I was trying to get back at her because that wasn't my intention at all. But we just started talking and we got to the diocese and we were talking more. And there's a picture that I have in my old phone that someone took of us because we were waiting for the doors to get open. So we're just sitting outside the diocese and we were just talking it up and someone took a picture of us. And I still had that picture because that was the first time of like even a spark of thinking like, maybe this is God's weird way of like bringing us back, you know? But I didn't want to think of it like that, you know? Yeah. But so we did the forms and anything like that. Long story short, the ride back, we started talking about things that have happened since we had broken up. Mm-hmm. And she had gotten really into her faith and gotten really into, volunteering and all this stuff that I wanted her to do when we were dating, but she didn't feel called to. Like she found it after we were gone. And I told her about all my experiences in seminary and, you know, how I was feeling and what had happened and what I feel called to do now and all this other stuff. And it was just cool because we're both at two completely different levels now. Like we had left broken up here, but we had both become our own people. Yeah. And I think that's what we were missing.
How long did you guys date before the breakup?
6 years.
Whoa.
Which I don't recommend.
To date for 6 years?
We started too young. We always tell people, it was like, we started too young. Like, we dated for too long. Could be because honestly, what it does is you get to the point where you've seen every movie already. You've been to dinners. You've done everything you can without, because both of us were like, we were on an understanding we weren't going to have sex before marriage. Mm-hmm. We've done everything that you could basically do trying to have a chaste relationship without going there. That temptation that was over here just kept seeping in because we've done everything that we've done before. And I'm glad to say that we didn't. We waited.
Awesome.
And it was great, you know, like that. We joke about that night, our wedding night, like all the time. And just because it was funny. Were you guys at the In-N-Out?
What happened? No, I wasn't there at your wedding night. But were we?
No. Were you with Pepe and all the guys like after the wedding? Did you guys go to In-N-Out? Were you part of that group?
Yeah, I was part of that group.
Yeah. So after our wedding,
gosh, I forgot about
the whole joke about our wedding was the fact that like
you guys went in In-N-Out.
Yeah, because we had planned
in Fresno because there wasn't one here in Madera.
No, it was the one in Fresno because our apartment was in Fresno too. Yeah. Our reception was in Fresno.
I remember
was that we had planned all this other stuff and we didn't even get to eat. It was your brother's fault because as soon as they put the plates in front of us, Carlos and Lupe came up and wanted to take a picture. And we're like,
dude, I blame him for a bunch of stuff too. I blame him for my divorce. You heard me. No, I'm kidding.
But he's like, they wanted to take a picture and that was a sign for everyone else to take a picture. So we didn't eat.
No.
We didn't eat. We didn't drink anything. The whole wedding, we just said hi and took pictures with everyone until the end of the night. Yeah. So we didn't eat. So she's in her wedding dress and I'm in my tux and we drive through In-N-Out. And as we're picking up our food, we see like, it was like you, Pepe. I don't know who else was there.
Jose.
Yeah.
And what, your brother? No. Sanhas, I think.
Maybe.
I don't know, but I was really.
But everybody saw us through the drive-thru and they're like, dude, what the hell? Like, yeah, because we had just left the reception. Yeah. So, but our wedding night was like great, but
nice.
Sorry, circle back around. The fact that nothing was planned. Like, and it was very genuine. And I think, we got straight to the point after that. And I told her, I was like, look, we dated for 6 years. I was like, we don't need to date very much longer. This is after this is months later after that whole diocese thing. We're still just as friends, whenever I was here, I wasn't texting her daily or anything like that. I was still trying to keep it because it was fresh still.
Yeah.
But I finally got the thing of like, maybe, and I was like, look, this is my intention. I really do like you, and I want to see where this goes. But I told her, I don't want to date you unless like I want to get married and I don't want to wait or anything like that. So I'll let you think about it. And, if you feel the same way, let me know because this is going to be quick, and I told her straight up, and we left and it took her 2 days and she came back. She's like, yeah. So that was her way of saying like, yeah, I want to marry you. Like, you know what I mean? So, so we went into it already. I think from the time we started dating again to when I proposed was only like,
I remember 4 months. Right now, San Francisco, me and the GoPro is just like, la, da, da. I never understood any of the messages you were sending all the guys in the group chat. Like, dude, be ready because it's gonna go down. I'm like,
so the whole thing was I bought a bunch of GoPros because I was gonna propose to Kadi and I wanted all these different angles because I was going to paste it up to be a video. Yeah. So I was texting, it was you, Jose, and my brother. I was just like, hey, I got these GoPros or whatever. I was like, when I do this, just kind of walk around like if you're filming yourself, but try to make sure we're in the background and all this because I'm going to do something. But I didn't even say in there that I was going to do it because my brother didn't know either.
Yeah. Nobody was like,
my brother didn't know I was going to propose.
So I was like, what the fuck?
That's how bad of a friend I am. Like, I didn't even get you all into the joke. Like no one knew that I was going to propose that weekend, but it still ended up cool. It was cool.
That doesn't matter what I said.
I don't remember what you said, but literally it was fast. Yeah, for like 3 or 4 months after we dated, and that was just a planning thing.
Did you still have those videos?
Yeah, they're in my computer somewhere. Yeah, so, but no, it's I'm like I said, like I'm very grateful. It needed to happen the way that it happened. We needed to break up.
Yeah,
and I needed to go to seminary. I that was my like boot camp of like getting me ready to be a man that I needed to. And not that everybody needs to go that route, but I was still a boy, like at that age, so I needed something to kick me in the butt and be like,
dude,
good. And yeah, dude, it's great. And we're still learning. Like I would never think when I got married that I'd be where I'm at 7 years from marriage and had a completely different like thought process of where I thought I'd be and where I thought our marriage is. But, it is where it is, and we're just every day. I'm just very grateful that God chose her for me, and that we found each other, and super happy. So,
yeah, man. Well, thank you for being on the pod. And how long has our friendship been? How old were
14,
you? 14 years,
20 years.
Holy moly!
Yeah, off and on for 20 years.
But dude, what I love about us is a year, months, whatever can go by. 7 years of me being married can go, or 4 years of me. And it's like, we didn't miss a beat, man. And I know I've thanked you a lot of times, but you were the guy that I called when everything went down with my divorce. And I know you called yourself a bad friend a couple times here, but you were the best thing that I needed at that time. Outside of my family, obviously, it was you. And I'll always thank you and God, because you guys even saw me at my lowest, worst, shittiest. Like, I was treating you guys like crap, and you guys stuck with me. And I'll always appreciate and love you guys for that. And while it is called the Pray About It podcast, so let's go ahead and end with the prayer.
All right.
In the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit.
Amen.
We thank you, Lord, so much for friendships, for marriages, and I definitely want to pray for Juan Carlos and Kadi, especially. Whatever it is that you have in store for them, please give them peace and calm in their hearts and in their relationship, and help us all have trust in you. And we thank you for everything, all the other little things that we don't appreciate that you give us. And please continue to give us the graces that we need to love you the way that we ought, and to love each other the same way that we ought to. And once again, I'm very grateful for my friendship with Juan Carlos. Thank you for bringing him in my life. And we'll see what you have in store for us. We love you and we thank you. Amen.
Amen.
In the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit.
Amen.
All right, brother.